I created the show 9 years ago. I cannot believe that I was looking at my thing. I'm like, 9 years and almost 400 episodes of this show. Kind of crazy. One of the longest things I've done in my career. Um, and we started the show, me and my former co-host. Hope she's doing good out there. We started the show because we wanted to connect with individuals who want to connect. First was community, small little local community. Then we said extra connections, make it broader, make it global. So that's what we've done for the last 9 years. I say this with I say this, it's all truth. I've had nearly 400 guests on the show. This guest, literally, I told him in an email yesterday, personifies what this show is striving to be about and continues to strive to be about. He's about connection in so many different ways that it's not even funny. He has a bio that's wide and long. I would do my own piece of how I want to do his bio. Number one, I love that he says, I wish I thought this myself, but I didn't. He is the self-proclaimed. Yeah. I quote, I love it. I love this. Me too. Breaker of molds and builder of bridges. That to me is brilliance right there. What does that mean? We're going to find out on this episode of Extra Connections. But the things that he does several things. He has InGen Solutions. It's a nonprofit. He has SAF Solutions or SATA Solutions. That's a for-profit. He has a podcast called Understanding the Science of You. All these things are a conglomeration of him, of what he is trying to do in the world. So help me meet Graham Skidmore. Hi, Graham.
Oh, hello, James. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hope you liked your intro. I tried to do something good.
Yeah, that was like, wow. All right, we're already starting with some pressure here. All right.
But in all seriousness, and right now I'm picking my shirt. I think I found the shirt I want. You sent me.
Wonderful.
I found the shirt I want. It's perfect. You are a person, as I'm going over your stuff and going online and and looking you up and everything and see what you do. Everything, I feel a kinship with you because I'm in entertainment, but I feel like I do entertainment that means something, that has a service as a property of some kind of giving back. No matter what I do, whether it's a Star Wars show or a soap opera or organizing or life coach, I try to always give back something to the people who are listening and watching. Everything you do, whether it's for-profit, non-profit, podcast, whatever, it sounds like it's similar. So my first question to you is, right now, are you fully in service?
I'm going to say almost, right? I've spent the last, 5-7 years working on myself so that I could be fully in service. And so then in the last year, I've spent my time now putting the pieces on the board. And now I'm entering into that phase of doing, right? And becoming and actually being able to take more action and being in service. So
thank you for your honesty. Thank you for I love that, because I always like telling people, you're gonna join me with my journey. My journey is gonna continue. You're gonna be with me on it. We're gonna do it together, and hopefully all carry each other to the wherever conclusions we get to go to. Well, when did you begin to, let's do it this way? When did you begin to enter the chessboard to put the pieces together? When did it start for you?
Yeah, I think, I got my first inkling in 2016. I know this, I think your show tends to be a little bit more mainstream than woo-woo, so I won't go down the woo-woo path, but, I definitely live in the woo-woo world, and, but I didn't always know that about myself. And so I got like this hint of, hey, it's in 2016, like it's time for you to move on from your corporate life, which was a big deal for me because that's all, to me, my corporate life represented me playing the game of life the way that I was taught to and that I was told to, right? Check the boxes, buy stuff, get a house, get married, get a country club membership, drive a nice car. Okay, you're playing the game. Well, problem was the more boxes that I checked, the worse I felt. So like, well, I don't like playing this game this way, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yes.
but of course, I also don't like to learn the easy way. And so I definitely spent the next 2 years trying to plan my exit accordingly and empower the people that I was working with, in certain ways before I left. The universe was like, all right, we're out of time on that. It's and so it intervened, we had a coming to Jesus, if you will, myself and the guy reported to the CEO at the time of like, hey, this isn't working. And I'm like, no, it's not. And he's like, hey, why don't you do something? Why don't we have you, focus on this other stuff? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go, which was a really big surprise to all of us, right? Because we all kind of expected me to retire from the place. And so that was my first, then kind of stepping away, not knowing what was going to happen. And then I spent throughout the next 5-7 years, I spent the time getting to know myself from various perspectives, various lenses, understanding, a larger purpose and fulfillment for myself. And that was when I started to understand, okay, the breaker of molds, builder of bridges came from walking through multiple footsteps, understanding myself through different lenses so that I could create experiences and knowledge transfers from firsthand experience, right? Like you don't want to hear, hey, this is what I would do in that situation. No, I want to know this is what I did do when I was faced with that same thing. Right. And so I recognize, and so a lot of my life, the first, 40 years of my life was spent building a lot of those. This is what I did in those situations. And then the next 7 years were spent a lot more on, okay, that worked in some ways, but didn't work fully. And so now here's the other information that I needed to learn so that I could have that sense of achievement as well as fulfillment and purpose, et cetera. And being able to share. And so, yeah, so that's then what I built all of my like technology and understand the science of you. And I didn't come with an owner's manual and those educational series to assist people with.
First of all, okay, it's great, but you have to tell me who your dog is.
Oh, I was trying, this
We
is
love
so,
animals on this channel. We're animal people, so animal
oh,
advocates.
good.
So
Yeah, this is Sophia, our little
hi,
bundle of
Sophia.
wisdom.
Hi, Angel.
And she's typically easier to just keep on my lap than to let her do her own thing. So
I've had many shows. I'm gonna tell you, I've done over thousands of hours, so I know. But we're animal advocates on this channel, so
wonderful.
we love that. So it's very cute. Makes you seem more sympathetic. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
That's always a joke in the business. Have an animal on you or a child, you'll be fine. But we love animals. Here's the thing. So I can relate on some level. I was raised I came up in the 80s and I was told to go to college, which I did, and get a job, and you work that job to 65 and you retire, and that's it. And I remember I was at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter and then 9/11 hit. We lost our office in New York. And we lost people. I mean, people I talked to just that week before. And it shook me. I mean, it shook me for many reasons, but that was the main thing. And I kept thinking, maybe it's time for me to do something different. And then I left that job, but then I went back into corporate life again. I fell right into the same. It was like, we'll give you this money, and you're really good at this, and you live in San Francisco where it's very expensive. So you got two daughters, and it was just kind of like, oh my goodness. But like you, I turned 40 and said, that's it. So it's something about 40. About 40, I think, about 40. So I know how what you say, just and then the last for me 16 years has been the whole building of this brand. But at 40, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not happy. I have all this money. It's so I mean, it's so cliche, right? But it's so true. You can have all the money, you can have all the vacations, you can all the stuff, but if you're just not, if you don't like your job really, or you're not fulfilled at all, but isn't it because also, but we're men, aren't we taught just inherently we have to just go out there and get, and that's what we do.
Oh, I was absolutely brought up to believe that my value as a man was my ability to be a provider.
Yes,
And I needed to be the cornerstone of the family. Everybody else cries, you be solid. If you can't provide for your family, then you're not really doing much, right? Like the way that you are going to be valued by society is based on, economic factors.
yes, Yes. So so then you said you started to begin to see how did you start to reframe that though then? Because you can still be a great provider and be sensitive and still be a man, right? You still, but how did you start to see it a little differently then?
Well, that's what people would say.
Oh, okay, okay,
Right? No, no, I say that meaning like right. And so
right.
that was what people around me would say. But throughout my corporate career, when I was focused on work on other, I couldn't
Oh
figure
yeah,
out how to do that. Right? I just I
same
couldn't
here.
figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so it was only afterwards, that I began to start to put those pieces together. And where's I? And forgive
was
me
there
here.
a specific person or mentor or a book or something? Something just kind of go, ooh, there's something click in you that this is it.
Yeah, I think similar to like many significant changes that people go through is they hit some sort of a bottom, right? And so I definitely the desire to change, the openness to change wasn't difficult considering how miserable I was when I looked in the mirror, right? And I also started having, physical ailments were increasing, everywhere I looked. I had a very specific moment where you know, I just remember breaking down and falling to my knees in my living room floor and just praying to help me bring some happiness into the world. Like I just didn't understand, this place didn't make any sense to me. And things were very scary for me. I went from feeling like I had the world all figured out to navigating a world that wasn't meant or it wasn't designed for me. And didn't know if I'd ever be able to work again. And my whole identity was shattered. So, I kind of always have the saying, lack of choice makes for very clear direction. And so I said, well, you know, operating from a place of fear, being miserable and doing nothing about it is certainly not an option for me. So what do I got left to do? Right. And that was okay. Well, I gotta try to figure out how to find my way out of this thing, whatever that meant and whatever that looked like. And so then I happened to, ran across some other people in my life that, helped to expose me to some other things in a spiritual level. And that was a significant turning point.
Um, Full disclosure, I have a doctorate in divinity. So, a lot of my studies, one of the things that I fully believe, and I've shared this on this podcast before in the past, because I'm in the entertainment business where there are a lot of no's, there are a lot of you can'ts, there are a lot of stuff. I learned that when the doors close, it's just God narrowing your path to the right direction. I fully believe that. Especially now when I have some great things happening. I'm like, oh, now I get it. I really wanted that thing over there and it didn't happen. Oh, got it. It wasn't right for me. Or said, I mean, I may be, enlightened and I'm doing stuff, but there's still habits I'm still breaking. And God's jumping in and going, no, James, you did that before. That's you don't want to do that. You don't want to go there. Oh, I don't. Okay, I won't. Okay, I won't go there then. I think I want to go there. No, I don't want to go there. And you're right. So for you, I mean, I do want to talk this a little bit. I mean, so you must have some sort of faith that also helps you move through the world, also.
Yeah, I have a tremendous faith that, and again, some of that faith came from a little bit of surrender, but a lot of it came more into getting beaten into submission. Right. So like you said, God said, hey, it's not your time to be in this place and this anymore. It's time for you to go down this path. And there was no way that I was going to go down this path, right? It was time to go down this path. No matter how much I tried, I was going to be getting geared back to go down this path, right? And so when you're getting, negative reinforcement or pain and trauma or frustration, misunderstanding, all unpleasant and unproductive emotions going down one path, it makes it much easier to be open to other paths. And so that was where, and so there was a lot of that involved over that last 5-7 years of gaining self-awareness and understanding. And so in that respect, it made it again, lack of choice makes a very clear direction. I don't want to feel, it felt better to follow the path than it did to not follow the path. And then it became very clear that no matter what I wanted, look, that wasn't what I signed up for during this incarnation, during this lifetime. And, it was time for me to enter into my acts of service. And so I just needed to figure out what that was and go with the flow.
I know. Yeah. It's like my brother and I talk about this. There's a saying that show me the boy at 7, I'll show you the man. And then some things we carry as kids kind of go into our adulthood. My brother and I were very different in he had to be beaten in submission to learn something. The stove is hot.
Yeah.
Don't touch it every other time to see if it's not hot. And it'll be hot. Me, you tell me once, and I was very dramatic. That stove's hot. I'm not going over there. I mean, it's really hot. I'm not, oh my God. I was like, I'm going to be like, okay, we get it, James. It's hot. As adults, my brother said to me the other day, he goes, God, James, it takes me like 5 times to learn a lesson sometimes. And for me, just once, just knock me in the head once, like, okay, got it. So it's kind of funny how you just said that it took you, you kind of had to knock yourself around a little bit, get knocked around. So what piece of advice would you give people who are kind of have that? They gotta be knocked around a little bit. What
Yeah,
kind of hope would you give them? That's kind of like, it's crazy.
no, I think that, and this is a lot of what I kind of teach or speak to, which is understanding you, right? Like we're not all here to learn the same things. We don't all learn the same way. The faster that we understand how we learn, then the more inner peace we can find, right? And so, you know, I like we talked about being brought up, right? I was kind of brought up underneath and throughout work under the impression that adversity or challenges only occurred when you made a mistake or when I made a mistake or did something wrong, right? And so therefore, I had to really reframe that as well to recognizing, no, those are catalysts, right? And these are things that are nudging me in a certain direction. And then, part of my service, right, is being able to problem solve, create solutions, things of that nature. And the only way and for me, the way that I figured out how to do that was understanding it from multiple angles, which meant, oh, tell me the stove is hot. Well, let me see if can I touch it with one hand? How about I touch it with this pot holder? What about this pot holder of this material versus that material, right? And being able to figure that out so that I could explain, so that when others were like, hey, the stove is hot, I'm like, well, here's the deal. Yeah, the stove is hot. If you touch it with your bare hand, it might burn. But if you only need to grab something off it real quick, well, then you just use this pot holder made of this material. But if you're going to need to, really hold your hand over the fire for quite a while, then you're going to want this material. Right? So it was more about them being able to be of service for everyone, that I had to understand it from many different directions. And so it went from beating myself up over, why couldn't I just figure this out the easy way, to recognizing I was never supposed to. That's not how I'm wired. That's not what I'm here to do. Right. And giving myself grace was one of the was one of the bigger challenges that I definitely had to learn.
We are hardest on ourselves. It's really crazy. People can be hard on us, but we're hardest on ourselves. And I think as men, especially a lot of times, we will beat ourselves down if something doesn't look a certain way or feel a certain way, or we don't do this. It's crazy. It's like, why do we do that? It's like, I mean, I get why we do it, but like we have to stop that. I took the word perfection out of my vocabulary. There's no such thing. We are who we are, and that's we're an amalgamation of whatever, up to that point, right? So I agree with you. We have to learn what works best for us. There's no one size fits all.
Right.
It's right. So for you, what did that look like in terms of figuring out the science of you? What did that look like? See, right there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, well, that's why I'll do it right back, and that's why I then kind of created the overarching thing, which is I didn't come with an owner's manual, and so sharing with people, this is how I figured out my owner's manual and figured out myself. It's a lot of trial and error. I was fortunate in my career where I did okay for myself, and so I was able to take some time off where I could literally just focus on getting to know me. And I wouldn't have been able to do those things had I needed to go to work 40 or 60 hours a week. So I really spent a lot of time, to your point, unpacking all of my old pain, all of my old trauma. Why did I do what I did? Was I supposed to? What could it have been avoidable? Should it be avoidable? And so a lot of it was also reestablishing my expectations of life, right? Because I mean, one of the things that I came to understand, at least for me, was that so much of my quality of life depended on my expectations, right?
True.
And so I really needed to adjust what my expectations were for me, not what life said, but for me and what makes me happy, and recognizing as well, how many things didn't I do that made me happy because society said that I wouldn't. A simple one is, I remember sharing with, male friends of mine how, I made some friends with squirrels in my backyard. Nature is very important to me. Animals are very important to me. And so, I spend time feeding squirrels, and I do that here now in downtown Chicago. And and the what they said to me is, aren't you a little young to be playing with squirrels? Isn't that something that you do once you get old and retire? And I was like, well, who the hell made up those rules?
Right. Mm.
Right? Like, what are you talking about? But the amount of beliefs that we all, or that get imposed upon each other, right? And then you're like, well, is that weird? Right? And so in my life, when I wasn't as secure with myself, right? I'm just trying, I was plenty quirky, plenty awkward, trying to fit in different things, right? So, all right, well, I'm not going to, I naturally rode against the current. So when people would say things to me that was kind of going against the current, I needed to kind of reel myself in and go with the flow more in those other places to kind of offset the other stuff. Like, all right, right. And so, yeah, so I had a lot of masks that I put on, and it needed to peel off.
Well, well, that goes into we all kind of have a mask on every day we put on, or armor, suit of armor, whatever you want to call it, mask, armor, all the time for various different reasons, right? Very different, like you said, different masks for different reasons. That we all do that, don't we? Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We do. That's kind of crazy. Okay, so now we get into this where you are today, because like you said, you have several projects going on at once. Like me, you're a multi hyphenate. I love it. I love it. I mean, that's how it works. So I kind of want to, I'm trying to figure out where I want to start because there's three main things that you have going on. And I kind of want to know about each of them. So let's start with InGen. Let's start with that. So. Tell us what that mission is, what it's about, and let's go for the start there.
Yeah. So one of the things, so a couple of core things that I teach and share is that there's more to all of us than what we've been led on to believe, right? That we've got our self here, and then we've kind of got a total or a higher self. And one of the things and that having more than the traditional five senses is part of the human experience. And it's not about being a fortune teller or anything else, but it's that those additional senses are there to help guide us through the game of life.
Yes.
Right. And so whether that be intuition, trusting your gut, right? It doesn't have to be anything, right? It can be as simple as that. And so and when I say that the systems are broken, not the people, there's a lot of pain, trauma, people and his quality of life being inhibited because we're living inside of a one size fits all set of systems, right? And so it's one thing to have a theory about how things are supposed to be or if things are broken or whatever else. It's another thing to demonstrate that they're broken through proof. And so NGen for me is my community that helps me to provide the proof that it's the systems that are broken out to people. So it's creating an individualized approach to healthcare, to training and education, to income and income and generation and employment. And then many people, are kind of born in with certain passion that are especially attracted to my stuff with passion projects or social injustice that they want to take on. And so NGen provides a new place of community to demonstrate how, both a community of equality and of equal opportunity and how being crappy to each other is not just part of the human condition. We're capable of getting along. We're capable of support, right? We're capable of being stewards for each other. But instead of shouting it from the rooftops, it's much more powerful for me just to demonstrate it through a community and taking and people that were understood themselves through one lens, helping them to unlock their gifts, wisdom, abilities, improve their quality of life. And that leading by example is much more powerful than any sort of words. And so NGen provides that enclosed environment for me to create the new and for it to emerge. And so that's why it's also a nonprofit.
I like that. So again, connecting with people who are looking for connection. I know also it's tough out there because a lot of us feel like we're in vacuums, we're in silos, little satellites. Plus, the addition of social media, that's our last 10 years especially, has happened where people are doom scrolling or scrolling because they're just jealous of everybody else, or because you and I both know everything's properly curated by any person on earth. So I think it's really interesting that you started this during a time where when you were talking about earlier, just like measuring yourself up to people, it's easier to try to measure yourself up to people, but it's not good. I mean, it's not a good thing to do.
No, it's funny. I spent a lot of my life with hubris and making myself feel better by doing that measuring. Oh, right. I would feel pain and then I would say, oh, well, I'm better than this person. I'm better off than this person. I don't have these problems because of that. Right. And so my quote unquote armor, or what people thought of as this strong self-confidence, was, really me just being a concrete covered marshmallow. Now this next chapter of my life, I've got that inner confidence, but it comes from a place of humbleness and humility and being comfortable with myself, and you do you and I do me, and that we're different and we don't need to compare each other. And you've got your path and journey, I've got my path and journey. And I don't need to be jealous of what you have or don't have. And I don't need to prove what I do or don't have to anybody else.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if you feel the same way. I just feel like we are so obsessed with what we don't have that we don't look at what we have.
Yeah, well, again, I talked to you about that that guidance from, since you've used the word God, I'll lean into that and say my guidance from God was, look, you can't speak truth to power and fight the status quo if you're also relied on those same set of systems to pay your bills and to justify you. So one of the things that I needed to do was sell all my stuff and walk away from that life. And so, right now I'm living with, I'm staying at my partner's place here in Chicago, Jamie. But yeah, I got rid of, and at an estate sale, got rid of all my, just, 95% of all my stuff, and used that money to, pay for NGen and the education and all this other stuff that I've been working on. And so yeah, that made it a little bit easier to
Oh,
just jump in the water and swim, I guess.
well,
Learn how to swim.
let's put that for a second, because for me, I left my whole big world behind in 2008 when it was the recession. People thought I was crazy, um, but I just knew. So just quickly, speaking of trusting your gut, for the last 4 months of the job that I had, my stomach hurt every single day. And I would take the subway. I was in San Francisco, take the subway, and then I would get off. It was called BART, and then I would get off after walk 8 blocks to my job, to the office. And I stopped getting coffee, and I'd walk there, and my stomach would hurt those 8 blocks. And I would get to work, do the job, whatever, get home, drink, whatever. I mean, things I don't do anymore, but just like
Yeah.
I hated my job. When I gave notice, Graham Skidmore, I'm gonna excuse my language. I shit you not. As soon as I gave notice, my stomach stopped hurting. I'm
That's
not even
exact.
joking. Not even joking. I'm not even saying it ironically or anything. It stopped hurting.
Yeah, and that's a lot of like understanding the science of you. That's why that's so important, is recognizing that aches and pains are not also just part of the human condition. That this is like your human suit, and it's the best piece of AI that we have. And if you think of everything as information, you can have a much different interaction with the world, right? And so that's right. Western medicine just says, oh, you just need to take some Tums. You've got a biological problem, right? And sure, if you take enough stuff, you can override what your body's talking to you, but that doesn't change how you feel and what you see in the mirror and your quality of life, right? And so and that's where it's like you're helping people to understand that, hey, sometimes, don't be wrong, it is biologic sometimes, right? But look, but if you're taking Tums every single day, which, like yourself, I had plenty of stomach problems as well, right? I held a lot of my stress, a lot of my anxiety in my stomach. And so once I started to unpack a lot of that stuff, and so yeah, that's such an important thing that we're not taught enough here in Western culture.
No, I agree with you completely. Also, I want to ask you about, because when I came back to LA, though, same thing. I downsized. Moved in with my brother. I used to have my own plane, all this stuff. It was a whole different situation. I wasn't making that money anymore because I'm becoming an entrepreneur. Like you, took a leap of faith. So for you, how easy or tough was it to, like you said, sell off your belongings and say, okay, I'm going to invest in myself in a business? Like, how was that for you? Because you had to reframe some stuff, I'm sure, then too.
It was definitely, some of my gifts, allow me to get some glimpses into what to expect, we'll just call it. And so I knew for a few years what was coming.
Okay.
So I was able to take a phased approach, right? Like before, when things first started, it was, I'm never going to get below this amount of money. Okay, I'll invest and do this until I get to this spot, and after that, then I'm pulling the ripcord. Then it was, once I got to that spot, it was like, okay, now I understand. I've got more clarity into my purpose and my vision. All right, I'm willing to invest more. And then it became, all right, who am I kidding? This isn't on my terms. And this isn't my money, right? God gave me everything that I've got. And so if this is this is how I'm supposed to do it. This is how I'm supposed to invest the money into, these chapters of my life, then so be it. But it needed to be a phased approach for me. It definitely wasn't just a one time I woke up in the morning and had this epiphany. My first couple of years, because there's so much of my security, so much of my identity, so much of my
Yes.
self-worth was tied into that economic aspects, right? And so it wasn't just about the money, right? It was about rewiring myself, my understanding of myself, my valuing of myself, all of those things. And so, yeah, so it took a few years of going through that.
And I'll add to that, for me, everyone else's reactions. What
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
doing?
absolutely.
Right? What are you doing? What's going on? Oh my God. Are you crazy? Or you want to start business for yourself and entertainment? Like, is that a real job? And what are you like? And I had that for the first like 4 or 5 years. People just didn't understand what the F I was doing. Now they're fine. They get it because I'm successful, I guess, and now they get it. But those first, I would say first 4 or 5 years, my parents were like, you went to school and became what I don't understand. You have degree. They couldn't understand. They thought it was too esoteric for them. So they just couldn't
Yeah.
get what like so I'm sure you got some of the same stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah, to your point, I just kept quiet about it because I wasn't ready to deal with with a lot of that. I wasn't ready to deal with the comments, and so I kept pretty quiet about it. In the last year, I've become more vocal about some of that stuff with friends. And I just was staying with a friend of mine back in Michigan, and people say, "Well, you've got to get back to work. Well, you've got to go make money." Well, first of all, let's be very clear. I don't have to do anything.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't.
Right. Like if you want to do that and that's what's important to you, that's cool. But like, I would much rather, and I will, and I said this before, I will do my work and live out of my car before I allow myself to feel the way that I felt before.
Yes. Thank you.
And I will, and not to mention, once you've kind of gone through and you've seen the other side, you also recognize how unproductive, that I truly was on these other things when I did it the other way. So it's not like it's a hard decision to lean into the other way when you've tasted how much better you feel.
It's it's interesting once you make that click, don't you make that shift, and how you're like, I can't go back. And for me, I couldn't imagine. I don't know if you could either, Graham. I could not imagine going back to the corporate world. I'm sure I could do it. I mean, I'm sure physically. I mean, I'm sure I could, do it, but not. But mentally, I can't do it. I get back at a desk, answering that phone and pushing papers about stuff I don't give any crap about. I just could. I don't even know. I just. I no. I just. For me, it'd be a slow death for me. And you know what's happening, Graham? I'm glad we're talking about this stuff too, because what are you doing? Because we are dying younger. Men are dropping like flies in their 30s, 40s, and 50s because of their jobs, because of what they do. It's a silent killer on some level. It's like stress and all that stuff that it just gets you, and you're eating bad, and you're tired, or you're drinking too much on the weekends, or whatever, because you don't really because you feel like you're stuck in what you're doing. It's crazy,
Oh
Graham.
yeah, I spent a lot of time numbing things,
Same here.
Look, I think it's important to be transparent with people and for people, booze, gambling, and women were my three vices that I use to try to numb myself or to feel better about myself, or whatever, or to just blow off steam. And so,
Right.
which by the way, all three of those, which that will definitely lead you to an early grave.
Oh yeah,
I don't
totally, totally. It sounds fun at the time, and I thought, I did have some fun, but you know what I mean. But in the long run, it stopped being fun.
That's right. That's right. And that was part of again where it made it easier to turn that corner in healing and growing when the things that worked for me no longer worked for me, right? And that was part of my part of that awakening and understanding myself and being pushed along was that the vices that used to be vices now all of a sudden um just cause more pain, right? Before where there could be that blowing off of steam, there was no longer that release valve, right? And so the feedback loop, was like, all right, this isn't working anymore. It's time to find something different, trying to find something more productive.
All right, because I do want to promote you. So, in Gen, just in layman's terms, if people are looking to want to join or whatever, what is that? What is that? What does it do for them?
Yeah. So right now, we're in the kind of the proof of concept phase.
Okay.
And so with Engine, our goal right now is the first 100 members that would kind of identify as either neurodivergent, highly sensitive person, spiritually gifted, that is looking to enter into, and we're starting in health and wellness, by the way, right? Just same way that hurt people, healed people, heal people. And so, want to help people to or are starting health and wellness. And we have a practitioner network that is along with what I call the ACE modules, and then this understand the science of you and the I didn't come with an owner's manual, all education and for self-guided journeys. And then the network of practitioners, both traditional and non-traditional, to help somebody along to understand themselves, to heal, to be able to separate their healing between, physical ailments and then their body talking to them, their higher self, their spirituality saying you're not aligned with you. And so that's why your stomach hurts. It doesn't matter how many times you take, your stomach's going to hurt. This is what you need, right? But people, and then, but then they've got to be able, and so they've got to learn how to understand themselves as an individual, be supported as an individual. And so that's what, so people and then also then people that feel like they've also kind of got a calling to be a part of something greater in life, to lead by example of, you know, to lead society, to figure out how to get along with each other and how to respect differences and learn from differences. So it's kind of like that combination of that two, is that first kind of 100 people that we're looking for. And it's a nonprofit, it's a membership based program, and it's a membership because we need to be able to kind of have our own set of bylaws to ensure that equality,
Yeah.
and and stuff. So anyway, so if somebody feels called to, they've always felt that kind of calling in life and they're looking to get to know themselves better. Yeah, look, I want you to feel better. I want you to enjoy who you see in the mirror. That's what you're meant to do. You're not meant to be here on earth and to feel crappy, both physically, emotionally, or spiritually, so definitely, yeah, reach out. And even if somebody, like, even if you're listening, you're just like, hey, I'm tired of feeling crappy. Look, I want people to feel good, even if maybe the whole full thing about Engine isn't what someone's all about. And for whatever reason, I seem to resonate with you, then reach out too. I'd love to see what I can do to help you make you feel better.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too later. I want people to come reach out to you. There's a famous, I don't know if it's true or not. It could, I've seen this. So David Cassidy, yes, that David Cassidy, Partridge Family and all that fame. On his deathbed, it has been said by his daughter Katie that he said I wasted too much time. Were his last words, and I always and if it's true or not, still resonated with me in the sense that I don't be that person that says that in my life. I'm able to go, you know what, I had a good time and I took care of business in the end. Like I turned it around in the end to where I can go, okay, I'm good. I don't want to die with regrets or with like,
right,
I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I just think that to me, that's a double death for me. I just can't. I don't want to do that. So while I'm on, like you, while we're on Earth and we're alive, let's try to help everybody not have to have that when they go too. But I also want to ask you, doing the podcast, that's my world. Also, doing a podcast, what have you learned about yourself in talking, doing this whole podcast?
What have I learned as far as like doing my personal podcast the Understand the Science of You, or being a guest?
No, doing your own podcast. I mean, because
Yeah.
I learn stuff every day. When I do these podcasts, I learn things about myself all the time. But I'm just curious for you. That's my world. I'm just kind of curious. Are there specific things that you are walking away with by doing this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I constantly get reinforced that I'm my biggest impediment.
Oh, funny. Okay.
Yeah, that I would be concerned about putting myself out there in certain ways because I came from knowing myself and being such one person, and now I'm such a 180-degree different person. And it's one thing to be your genuine, authentic self in your own living room and like talking to people like in the like being me in the woo woo community is much is much easier than talking to my friends that are in the mainstream, right? I remember going to and anyway, and so. But when I would put myself out there, though, I continued to be accepted, and the people that were in my life were just like, "Hey, man, you feeling are you happier? You look better, right?" And so getting that positive reinforcement, really, kind of helped to continue to make me feel more and more comfortable to keep putting myself out there and to recognize that there were still unproductive stories I was telling myself that I was using to hold myself back.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you put yourself out there. I accept you. That's fine. It's all good.
I appreciate that tremendously.
You don't need my acceptance, but
it matters. I can tell it matters.
I accept who you are. Let's go, because I just know when I do these, I mean, there are obvious things I learn, like learning things, but then in the whole general of this 9 years of doing this show, I go, yeah, it has enhanced my life in many ways, and how I view situations, how I view things now is different than it was 9 years ago. I mean, it is different, and in part because of doing this type of podcast. Now, do you want to talk about? I don't know if I butchered it or not. Is it SAF Solutions?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so tell us about that.
So SaaS Solutions is creates the technology and is the holder of the technology, the education, the systems, the infrastructure that is used to fuel NGen,
Got it.
as well then as I don't know if Harmony Health is mentioned, but Harmony Health is a concierge wellness as well. And
Okay.
so that allows me to, once I have the proof of concept between Harmony Health and NGen, then SAF allows, as the holder of that technology, allows me to then license that technology to other entities and things like that without having to give up equity and control of those other entities, because that's important if I'm going to create change. Right. I still need to, have some economic things that I need to deal with, but I also, I need to be able to, I need to create my own paradigm and not play inside the existing one anyway. So there was a legal structure of practicality that kind of drove that decision of keeping things separate.
But it's separate, but
It's separate, but it's the supporting arm, right? So when people want to figure, yeah, how do I use technology? Like, I'm a big fan of better humans, not better technology, right? The humans are the carpenter, and the AI should be the tool. It shouldn't be AI is the carpenter and humans being its tool. And so let's create. And so SAF, in the way with ethical technology or augmented intelligence, that's how I build the tools and in SAF. And so I know there's other companies that are interested in, hey, how do I use technology to help create better humans or to get the most out of humans? And so then, being able to build technology or license it, existing, et cetera, is then where SAF comes into play.
well, you just
And then
brought
SAF funds NGen as the nonprofit
okay.
as well.
Well, you just brought up the dirty letters AI, that the world is just tossing themselves all over because of these two letters. And for me, I have softened a bit, depending on the usage of. There's some AI products that I actually like that streamline my life. Others I've saw that because I'm in entertainment, of course, so some of them I'm not down for it. Yet maybe I don't know. I'm trying to be nice to the robots. I don't know. It's for you. I want to know because you just said ethical, and that kind of stuff. So technology. I like what you said. It should be the humans should always be the ones on top of this food chain, ecological system, and technology should be. But you know this because you are a millennial and you've been around for a while. You know this. We always advance so fast, technology wise, but emotionally we're always still stunted. We're always behind in technology. So I'm kind of curious. My question to you, because you're out because you're doing kind of both things.
Yep.
Do you think we can catch up to the technology emotionally and really use it in a good way? I mean, I don't know my questions out there. I'm just kind of I'm just wondering, can they coexist?
Yeah.
I mean, can they coexist in your thoughts? Can they coexist?
Well, since you opened up this can of worms,
Yeah, let's open it up.
I'll take out a few and speak to them. So yeah, so that's
Yes.
and so what you talked about, because it's not like it's the anti thing. So
Right.
but this is my whole point about why it's so important for us to tap into our total selves or our higher selves and understand ourselves as um, having more to us than just traditional five senses and things, is because when we're able to, I think with this, I want to say this, when we think about that, there's one way of learning, right? You go to school, you're taught to learn one way and everything else. Well, when AI is going against that, well, now it becomes a game of optimization and efficiencies. And that really plays into technology the same way the calculator is easier to be better at math than a human is. But being good at math isn't the ultimate determination of one's intelligence, right? There's many, many, many determinations of intelligence, but if we're live inside of this self-fulfilling prophecy where we've essentially dumbed down the human race to all think the same way and to conform, well, again, now we're creating that self-fulfilling prophecy of AI superiority. When we understand ourselves as beings of consciousness, who can tap into energies around us, who actually have more wisdom than what we know of, but it's just been shut down and kind of what's it conditioned out of us, right? By re-engaging with what's been conditioned out of us, now all of a sudden, my challenge back is AI can't keep up with consciousness, and so again, most people are going to look at me like I'm crazy, and I understand that, right? And so that's part of why I have NGen as my proving grounds to demonstrate what a group of people living and tapping into their consciousness and living a conscious-based life are capable of, and how and why the consciousness is superior to AI. And so that's the other part of why I've got that as that separate entity in that proof of concept and proving grounds.
I hope so. I'll be right because it's here's an example. So when I was a kid, CNN debuts 24-hour news access, right? Sounds great. And at first, it was, right? It was great. Cut to 40 some years later, now it's a detriment at some level for people emotionally and psychologically. Because now we've graduated to we have 20 not just 24-hour news, but now we have 24-hour everything on your fingertips, on your hand, wherever. And now people are just losing their minds. So I always feel like with AI, I'm hoping that it's not going to turn out like that. Where first I see some good uses. Like I said, for some I see some good uses when it comes to like efficiency and certain
Yeah.
things. But I'm here in LA, so in LA we have robots delivering food. We have robots. We have this day. We have Waymo, the car with no people driving. It's crazy. I've gotten one yet. Everybody. There's a lot of technology stuff happening here in California, especially. Um, I love Chicago, so I don't know. I haven't seen it in Chicago yet, but there's happening here in LA and San Francisco and places like that. Um, but I'm hoping that we can find a way where it could coexist and not become one of those iRobots or all these movies that we've seen where AI is just horribly bad. I just hope not. I don't know. I just hope not. I hope
Well,
you're
I think
right.
that Well, I definitely think it's I definitely think that's a topic where humanity is going to have to touch the stove to feel it and burn their hand to learn,
Yes.
right? And I think this is also where a challenge, where a materialism view of reality versus the consciousness view of reality is important. Because let's say and this is part of what NGen, by helping people to unlock their gifts, is important, because if you have these efficiencies that come, and now humans have more, let's say we have more time on our hands. Okay. And so what are you going to do with more time? Consume more, we can have more of a parasitic relationship with the earth. We can decide how to be harsher to each other, how to judge each other more. Well, that sounds more scary to me than, some robots. Right. But if instead, now if we're able to take that same time to work on our spirituality, to work on ourselves, and having a framework to do that, and having examples to recognize, hey, it's worth me putting into this time because I can go from here to here. Right? Now we're creating a different set of choices for people. And that's, to me, that's what's important, is creating that different set of choices, and creating and then providing the infrastructure and the systems that support those choices, so we don't, because we don't have to live scrolling through AI or scrolling through social media and other things, but we do lack a society that kind of operates otherwise, right? We do lack of society of same-minded people. We go to work, and even if that's fine. You can say, okay, I'm not going to do that. Well, then when you go to the office, everybody's talking about this stuff, and so you kind of get sucked in, right? But if you're working with a group of people that are like-minded, that aren't doing those things, well, now it becomes easier to do that. And so that's where, again, NGen, similar to any other, there's plenty of communities that exist that same way. Whether you want to look at the indigenous communities or the Amish communities, right? They operate with their own different set of beliefs and segregated, and they somehow seem to do just fine, and in many cases have better qualities of life, than those of us on the status quo hamster wheel, running around thinking that we got it all figured out.
I I'm a record collector, so it's been I say glorious, to watch the return of people wanting physical media. My brother-in-law and I go at least twice a month to record stores around Los Angeles.
So
And to
cool.
see them full of people buying vinyl or cassettes. Remember cassettes, kids?
Oh yeah.
Cassettes, DVDs. Like they're and people are talking to each other, and we're laughing. Oh my god! Remember when that song came out? Like it's there's a place called Meba, which is a really big record store here, and there's one in San Francisco, and it is filled to the gills. And I just in all ages, all races, all religions, all backgrounds, and everyone is there swimming upstream like salmon. Just as we're all looking just for whatever we're looking for, and it's fun. And you can bump into somebody. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, I'm looking at this thing. Oh, I kind of and it's just and I'm like that almost brings to the community that you're trying to create, the community I'm trying
Right.
to create. It's just like we're with all the technology in the world, somehow we're still remembering that physical media is still probably the best way. If you love something so much, you should just have it. Because online, they're taking things off. They don't. Not everything's online. So So I guess I could say, just talking to you, I'm thinking about that, going. So I am seeing part of that in action on some level.
Yeah. You're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing a lot of that resurgence. And I think, and so much of this one size fits all approach doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And so whether somebody wants, 8 tracks, whether somebody wants vinyl, whether somebody wants CDs and, or digital, the point in the status quo, right, is it's everybody's telling you why you need to think this way and why everybody needs to think the same. Instead, we need to be spending our time trying to both just saying, okay, well, if that's what you want, well, here's how we deliver that to you. Here's how you do you, I do me. And look, and where the learning comes from the differences. If we're all thinking the same and being the same, then we're not advancing as a species. All right. And that's when AI definitely takes over. That's when things, right. And that's when we do it to ourselves.
Yes.
Right. But when we're looking at the differences, oh, why do you like vinyl? Because admittedly, I'm not a huge, as much as I enjoy music, I'm not, in the community. But my understanding is that vinyl has and always has had a better sound quality or richness of sound, but from a durability or sustainability and scalability, that's kind of where the tapes and the CDs and everything else kind of came into play. That was more driven by capitalism and economics than it was quality.
Right.
And so I think it right. And so, I think it's important that there's always those pockets of communities that provide for those that want to appreciate the quality. Cool, you do here. If you don't really care about the quality and you're just worried about efficiency, okay, then you do it here. But society breaks down when we lose our choices. And that's when people get angry. And that's when things get ugly.
I agree with you completely on that. Choice needs to be still had. And I don't know, Graham. I just feel as we start to, I can talk to you forever. But no one will listen to a 5-hour podcast. So, um, but I just think it all, for me, what it comes down to, I would say 99% of us all want the same stuff. We may have different approaches of trying to get
Hmm.
there or slightly different feelings about certain things. But I always find there like 5 or 6 things we all would like to have. I said, my everybody, most of us would like to have.
Yeah.
You know, either it could be love, good sex, um,
Yeah.
good food, good entertainment. Like there's certain things we all want it, no matter what. And so we're all looking for that, right? We're all looking for that in various ways. So I feel like with you and what you're doing is you're trying to um, help keep people there, I guess, and
Yeah.
on some level.
That's right. Even money, right? Money,
Money.
nothing in itself is good or bad. It's what people do with it. If you want to give to charity, guess what? It's going to take money. If you see an unhoused person, you want to help them. Well, one of the things that they will do, it requires money, right? It's only, so the more that we just think of things as just tools and vehicles to that end game, right? Then the more we can accept and understand those differences. And also the more that we can walk in each other's shoes, and again, then the easier it is to, I don't believe in peace through strength. I believe in peace through unification. And so when we can find what, like your point, we both want this, but our methods of getting there are the same. Well, cool. Well, status quo tells us to focus on what makes us different. Well, but but the bringing out the best in humanity and evolving humanity is going to be built on understanding what makes us similar,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly. Um, there's always there's a saying that's always misquoted. I'm gonna pull up my Bible again real quick. Saying money's the root of all evil. That's not what they say. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. That's what they say in the Bible. And so, meaning just that if that's all you care about, if that's just everything, money itself, you just said it. Money itself is not evil. I mean, it's just money. It's an object. It's currency of some sort. I mean, it's not intrinsically evil. This pill bottle is an evil. It's not evil. But if you take a lot of pills all the time, that's the problem. And I think that's what this I can say. I guess it's with this. If you are just you want to be there. You want to be there with your fellow man, woman, whatever you want to be on.
Yeah.
It's like, then let's do that. Let's just do it, and let's just be quiet sometimes and listen to other people. And I always feel sometimes too, and just like let's connect. Let's find
Well,
let's
and the thing that,
find a connect.
yes, I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. The other point that had escaped my mind there was that the thing that I don't understand is that there's so much focus on conformity. But when I
Yes.
look around, I don't know about you, but I refuse to believe this is as good as it gets. And
Right. All right.
I don't see a gold standard that's telling me that I should be conforming to anything,
Oh, I agree.
right? And so I don't understand the focus on trying to get us all to be the same. If anything, we should all be like, no, 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 this ain't working. You got to
Right.
go do this different. You do this different. You do this different.
I know.
And let's come back together and try to figure out which way is working better so we can disseminate it out to the rest of us.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's what we should be doing.
Yes. I agree 1,000%. I do. I just feel like my circle, everybody's different. We all get along great. I don't really fight. I have no drama with anybody. We get along great because we're all different people. And I think, and I have long time friendships. I mean, I have friendships that are 30, 40 years. So it's kind of crazy to me. So I'm like,
Well, that's why when I talk about NGen in my initial audience, it's the neurodiverse, the spiritually gifted, and the highly sensitive people, because inside of those categories is every race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, etc. And so, we get to show how to come together with our differences and use those differences to move forward and be better.
Graham Skidmore, you have to come back. Let's come back on the show. Let's come back. Just come back again.
I love it.
Another discussion. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for sharing part of yourself and sharing some of your stories. I think us men need to share more. We do with the world, how we feel, and that we're not perfect. There's no such thing. We're not perfect, and that we're all. And as long as you're always learning, education should never stop. Education should never ever stop. Should always be trying to learn something. I think my feeling. Tell folks where they can find you if they want to find you and all your products and everything. I'll put it underneath in the description, of course, but you can actually physically say it.
For sure, yeah, appreciate that. Like, if someone's like, "Hey, I kind of like what your perspective on some things," well, then please check me out on YouTube underneath the Understand the Science of You, or I Didn't Come with an Owner's Manual. If you want to look into NGen and NGen Solutions, ENGEN, .com, or if you just want to, reach out to, I mean, obviously you can reach out to me,
Yeah.
through one of those two, but find me on LinkedIn. And connect with me there, or shoot me a message.
Very good. And I'll put all that underneath so everybody can find you there. Folks, this is Extra Connections. We're on Facebook, of course, but we're on every single streaming service program out there, platform out there, from iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, Apple, Deezer, all the Castbox, all of them. And then YouTube, I call the granddaddy of them all, YouTube at JLJ Media. Like I said, 9 years, nearly 400 episodes. We're going to continue to talk to people who are wanting to connect and extra connect out there with people. I try to believe that we can all come together in some form. I do. I believe it. I really do believe it. I'm an eternal optimist. I don't know where I got it from, but I just have it in there. But, we can still come together, and I will always do my best to have guests like Graham on and others, and in my real life, just keep connecting. It's just very important, especially today, as the world gets more and more complicated and divided. We got to remember we're all the human race. That's just a fact. We're the human race, and so I will continue that as my charge in the world. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching. I will say to my audio listeners, but thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.